Very strange. That's how senior reporter Edward Isaac Dover characterized new bombshell reporting that Hunter Biden asked the State Department to help out Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company that the first son had business deals with.
A group of CNN panelists discussed the possible ramifications Hunter's previous activity could have on Kamala Harris's presidential run. This is what Dover said. Let's take a look.
This isn't great. Hunter Biden, everybody in the White House has known for a long time as an issue. The way that that his lawyers responded to this disclosure, to say like, well, yeah, he sent letters but did nothing wrong. It doesn't. This feels very strange to people that the vice president's son was sending letters or making requests to other government officials and saying, hey, would you meet with this company? It may have been legal. We don't know anything otherwise at this point. Like Matt said, we haven't seen the contents of the letter. It does look like he was at least making people say, you notice my last name though, right?
Finally, some acknowledgement. I mean, they've acknowledged it before, but I just can't help but marvel at how the Hunter Biden issue has changed so much over the years from, what are you talking about? There's nothing sketchy about this guy. And in fact, efforts to make him seem sketchy are part of a deliberate plot by foreign adversaries to make you lose confidence in Joe Biden himself. And now they're all like, well, yeah, he did absolutely try to use his last name, his proximity to Joe Biden, to make money for himself and foreign companies, governments, public-private partnerships in Europe and China and elsewhere. But, Biden was not, no evidence. Biden himself was involved. Okay, fine. But we've really moved we've moved the ball down the field on the whole Hunter Biden issue.
Yeah, you can't ask officials at the U.S. Embassy in Italy to approve some kind of permits or push the Italian government to approve some kind of energy permits in the northern region of Italy. You have to get a cabinet position to do that, Hunter Biden. Only people working for the deep state, for the national security establishment and the CIA are allowed to make moves like this. You can't just be the president's son and do that. You have to get appointed to a position to do that. This is America.
There's something to that it's still corruption when it's happening officially. Legally. But what's so apparent about Hunter Biden's corruption is that it's just like so sleazy and obvious. Like,
try harder.
Yeah, it's not disguised at all. It's just
Be
just
sneaky
incredible
about it, Hunter Biden.
Like they knew what they were. Burisma knew what they were paying him for. I can't recall off the top of my head what the salary was. It was an eye-popping figure that they halved as soon as Joe Biden ceased to be the vice president. They knew what they were paying for. They were paying for the last name. They were paying for that maybe Hunter Biden, it's clear he tried to do this, could trick his dad into calling him when he was in the presence of important officials he was trying to leverage, or could have his dad at some dinner where there's some business partner to shake hands with him. That's what he was paying him for. And I know Joe Biden loves his son and doesn't want to think the worst of him, and wants to maybe encourage his endeavors, maybe supports his painting or something, but was put in a very difficult decision by this just utterly corrupt line of business scheming that Hunter was involved in.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who end up serving in public office who are on the board of certain companies, and I think that it's time we suss out that conflict of interest. It's also different from the potential legislation we're going to see around insider trading. Legislation that now Nancy Pelosi suddenly endorsed after her portfolio, the insider portfolio, they call it, that mirrors all of her trades because she always outperforms the market. It's so funny that as soon as she loses power as Speaker of the House, she would never bring that to a floor vote. She would never entertain it. But now that she's not the Speaker of the House, she's like, yeah, we should do something about stock trades.
Remember when she tried to say we can't prohibit Congress from engaging in stock trading because we're a capitalist country? It's like, that's not, I support capitalism. It's not when the government figures can do it. They're the ones ostensibly who are supposed to make the regulations. If they can use the knowledge they know, the skills they have from from like that's worse than insider trading, because at least insider trading, which I know is illegal and bad, but that's even just involving private people with private knowledge. This is people who actually make the rules, using that to their advantage. Like that's not at all capitalism. It's just the lamest excuse you ever made.
I sound like a Fox News dad that gets all of his news from that show, because I'm like, speaking of Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
but
that's fair enough.
It is true that she's had such a buzzer beater of a career. I mean, she's finally using her leverage to do things that people want her to do instead of members of the Democratic Party.
Like get Joe Biden ousted?
Like get Joe Biden ousted. Say she favors Tim Walz. Who knows what her rule was in getting Walz the vice presidential nomination. Then you have now talks that she is behind pushing a halt to arms transfers to Israel, for the Biden administration to have conditions on giving Israel weapons. What? This doesn't sound like Nancy Pelosi. That's on top of this new position on insider trading. It's just crazy. She's like, I'm gonna be a corporate member of the House. I'm gonna use my power to make a bunch of money. And then as soon as I get out, I'm gonna pull the ladder out from behind me and say, none of you other guys can make power or make decisions that enrich you while you're in power. I mean, I like it. I support what she's doing. Kind of messed up that she didn't do it earlier in her career, but I'll take it.
She's a very powerful political figure. She's been the true power on the Democratic side in Washington for decades now. I think that's fair to say.
Nancy's crazy. I say Fox News dad because there's a Shane Gillis bit where the dad watches Fox all day and you're like, oh, like what's going on in the world? And he's like, well, Nancy Pelosi's a B word. And it's like, oh, what'd she do? And he's like, she's just a B word. And they can't really say why, but they've been fed this rage about Nancy Pelosi. We can name many things that Nancy Pelosi has done that's unfavorable, but I think now she's doing good things. But yes, it's worth noting that people in power are legally corrupt. Hunter Biden just wasn't so careful to make his actions legal. He should have registered as a foreign agent. This all would have been perfectly legal, and that's horrible.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if there's additional legal scrutiny of him, including more investigations, if the House Oversight Committee, the James Comer team, are going to do anything about this. They've called Biden crime family most corrupt political dynasty in history, have made a lot of hay over it, and now they get some new fodder for that. So I definitely expect them to look into it, as they should.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
that does it for us today on Rising and for this week. Great having you here, Jess. Tomorrow, I believe, is Amber and Nomiki. Is that correct?
This time it's actually me. Last week
you
I said it was me. It was not. But this week.
Okay, Jessica, who is working very, very hard for the Hill lately, is going to be hosting tomorrow. I will be off, but we will both be back with you next week for an exciting week of the Democratic National Convention, where they will presumably christen Kamala Harris as the candidate, although anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. This is a crazy, it could be, that's not really happening, but we're making jokes, but who knows? Yeah. So you'll want to tune into our coverage all next week for sure. In the meantime, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're available anywhere you can find podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Bye, y'all.